Hello, everyone, and welcome to another ZeroBounce webinar. Today's theme, Supercharge your HubSpot account data. This is going to be all about how to improve the quality of your content as it relates to HubSpot. Very curious, as always, to know where you're joining from. Just let us know there in the chat. We have Zach in there. Feel free to ask any questions along the way, and we are going to get to them at the end. Your participation is not just welcome, it's encouraged. So it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Austin Helm. Many of you have attended a webinar with Austin in the past. He is business development executive at ZeroBounce. He's also a very knowledgeable man, always happy to answer any questions that you have. Feel free to connect with him on LinkedIn. You'll see a QR code. Austin is full of knowledge, and we're excited to see what he has to say today. And many of you are familiar with ZeroBounce, the #1 email verifier for 350,000 clients. We are email junkies here at ZeroBounce. You're going to see many, many well-known brands there to the right, from Coca-Cola, Netflix, Airbnb, LinkedIn, and so many others. It's not just about email verification here at ZeroBounce. There's a number of things we do here. We have an email finder tool, a blacklist monitor, DMARC monitor tool, and many others. And we're going to bring on Austin Helm, our extraordinary speaker today. All right, Austin, how are you?
I'm doing well, Paul. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful.
Good to be here. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I hope inbound went well for everybody. And I know that there was a bunch of people who were interested in how the ZeroBounce integration actually worked with HubSpot. So we're going to take you through that here and answer any questions that you have. Again, feel free as we're going to put any questions in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end when we have our time for Q&A. So I am going to share my screen here. One second. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do when we get this set up, obviously, is if you haven't already, create a ZeroBounce account. Just go to zerobounce.net, create the account. And from here up in the top right corner, you'll actually be able to invite other users to the account. So you can manage everything under one roof. You can give them specific roles, but you'll just enter the email address of the team member that you want to invite, and then that will send them the invite. They can join, and they'll have access to the same pool of credits here that you end up purchasing. So just to reiterate, this system is based off of credits. You're paying for usage of the platform, not for any integrations or anything like that. Integrating is completely free. Don't worry about that. We'll touch on pricing a little bit later, but you're paying for usage. So you'll need these credits to actually make the platform work. Okay, so let's get going here. So we want to integrate with HubSpot. So you can do this a couple ways. You can go to the validate section. You can get to you'll see integrations from here. If you validate a new list, we also have a list of all of our integrations over on the left-hand side here, where you can access the same thing. But for now, we're just going to find HubSpot. And you can see we already have this hooked up here. It's a very simple process when you go through the actual integration process. If we go into the documentation quick, which I can send you all after the webinar is over, you'll see it's just a simple flow here to connect your HubSpot account. You'll log into your HubSpot account, give us some permissions here, and then that will basically hook everything up for you. So back over to the integration. This is where you're going to manage everything from. So once your HubSpot's actually connected, you'll see there's a breakdown here of all your lists, all the little things you can do while you're setting up the validations that you want to perform. But you can decide which list you want to validate. You just click here, and then you'll click Edit Entry. And under here, you can do a couple things like schedule validations. If you want to validate your list every certain amount of days, you can do that. Typically, it depends on the composition of your list. If it's B2B emails We recommend you do it more often than you would if you're dealing with personal emails. So however you want to schedule it, though, is good. 2 to 3 times a year is usually what we recommend with keeping up with the maintenance of your list. So again, you can schedule the validation. You can do all contacts. The other thing you have the ability to do is validate any new contacts that are incoming just by clicking here. You can anytime anything's coming through a form or anything like that goes into your database, you can automatically have it validated so that it's there ready to go when you want to use it. So you have a couple different options here. You can score your catch-alls. So the emails that you're going to be most interested in, and we'll get into the statuses a little bit later, but the emails that you're going to be most interested in are obviously going to be the valid emails along with the high-scoring catch-alls. Catch-all emails are the only gray area there is in email validation. If I were to take my email address, for example, Austin@ZeroBounce.net, let's say ZeroBounce.net is a catch-all domain, I'm sorry. If I were to send to Austin1@ZeroBounce.net, Austin1 is an invalid address, but because ZeroBounce.net is a catch-all domain, that email is still going to go through and make its way to an inbox that's been configured to receive those types of emails. So what that means is from a validation standpoint, it's impossible to actually tell whether or not the email is valid or invalid because everything is going through. So if we actually leave the validation here for a sec, I can show you what it'll actually look like. So what we do is we score the catch-alls on a scale of 0 to 10 to give you an idea of what we believe is actually going to be valid of these catch-alls, with 9s and 10s being what we recommend sending to. So you have the ability to do that from the integration as well. It'll help you extract a little bit of extra value out of your data that you have. So you can elect to do that there. It's an additional credit to score the catch-alls if you do elect to do so. The other thing we have the ability to do is add activity data to enrich your list a little bit. This activity data is going to tell you how active the emails have been, whether or not it's been active within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, so on and so forth. And so then you'll know which contacts are more likely to engage based on how active they are. And right now, we're actually running a special here where the activity data is free until November 30th. So if you do this before November 30th, you'll get the activity data for free. Otherwise, this is also an additional credit. So then once you're ready to go, again, here's scoring if you want to set a schedule for the scoring as well. But once you're ready to go, you just click validate now, and that will begin the actual validation. So once the validation is complete, we'll hop over to HubSpot here, and you'll see. Well, actually, let's go do some mapping quick so you can see what it's going to look like. So here's the fields here. We obviously have the names all that we use typically for the fields already inputted, but you can change these depending on whatever you want to call them if you feel like organizing it a specific way. So if we go to our HubSpot here, you'll see that the fields are here next to the email addresses along with the statuses. So you'll have the status of the email right next to it, along with a substatus if there is one, a score if you elected to do so, activity data if you wanted it as well. Again, you can customize these columns here to input what fields you want. You can just search it here, ZB, and it will pop up here. You can elect which ones you want to use. Obviously, these are the ones that are going to be the most useful are the statuses, scoring if you used it, activity data if you used it. There's timestamps for things of that nature. You can apply those and customize those however you want. But you'll see the statuses are here. Everything's here. You can then filter by valids or invalids. Again, this can help save you a lot of money because if they're invalid, you can delete these contacts from HubSpot, and then you're going to save money on your HubSpot bill. So this will pretty much take care of everything in HubSpot. Again, if you click into the email as well or into the contact, you can add a card down to the bottom here, which will also include the statuses as well for the contact. Again, you can customize the card and figure out which bits of info you're going to want there in addition. But I'm assuming everybody here knows how to customize a card or create a new card, so we're not going to go into that there. But again, super simple. All the information you need is here. And if there's any questions about anything, obviously you can let me know. So this isn't rocket science. It's not a very complicated thing, which is what's so great about it. It's very easy to get very valuable information. So the other thing that we have available is validating real time through your HubSpot forms. So this integration is a bit more complex here, but it's still very easy to set up. I'm assuming most of you out here know your way around HubSpot, so it shouldn't be too hard to do if you know what's going on. But again, we have support. You'll have me as a resource. You can ask any questions if necessary. But we'll go into the integrations here. And you'll click on HubSpot Forms here. And from here, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to copy this API. You're going to generate an API key. I already have one generated. We already have a form set up, but you'll generate a new public API key. This is going to be important later on. And then you'll also elect which emails you want to allow through. So anything that you have checked down here is going to come through the validation form, or the email, your HubSpot sign-up form. So if you'll elect to allow valid emails, here I like to allow catch-all emails, and then unknowns, the invalids, the spam trap, and some of the other garbage we don't even want to let through the form. So it's nice because then when you go to your actual HubSpot form or your contact list, none of the bad stuff is going to be in there. You know that everything's already going to be good. So if we give you an example here of a form, we have a form here that's already set up. Well, we'll take you through the integration first. Actually, let's do that. But so we have the form set up. So you'll come down here to forms. Where are we at here? Forms. Boom. And we'll create a new form. Go through this here. Customize however you want. Obviously, do your thing with your form. But when you're ready, you can, when your form is all set up how you want, you'll click start. And then from there, up on the top right here, you'll see a button that presses embed, or that says embed. You'll click on that. Obviously, all of this is in our documentation as well. It takes you step by step through everything. So in case you have any questions or want to reference anything, you can always reference the documentation. It'll take you through all of this. But you'll embed your form. You'll take this code here, the embed code. You're going to take this code, and you're going to put this into your HTML along with the code that we have for the form on the documentation, which is right here. Just copy and paste. You'll take your API key, and then you're going to plug that in right where it says API key. So that API key that we were talking about here, when you generated a new form, that's what's going to be plugged in there. You'll take that, you'll stick it in the HTML of your website, and that will have everything connected for you, and then your form will be up and running. So here's an example of what the form will actually look like. So let's validate an email. Let's try my personal Gmail here. Please don't spam me. You'll see it was validated there. And then if we go back to contacts, you'll see the contact is now here in HubSpot. Again, we'll do this again because I think I went through that pretty fast. Let's refresh here. Let's try a new one. So you can see over here it's working. This says it's an invalid email. So it's not even going to allow this through. But if we try this one, boom, valid email. Okay, good to go. That's my cousin's email. Feel free to spam him as much as you want. But once we update this, you'll see that the contact is now also in your HubSpot account. So again, super simple, very useful when you want to actually have the validation occur at the gate. It's like your own little gatekeeper or bouncer, if you will. But it can make things super easy so that you don't have to go run the validation later on. But that's it. That's really it. It's a very simple integration. There's really not a whole lot to it. There's other things you can do in terms of customization. Obviously, you're going to interact with most things here. all the results and everything are also going to be tracked here. So we'll have records of what happened with your actual validation here. So you can see a breakdown of the entire validation. If you want to see how many valids you had, how many invalids of the list, it makes it super easy to see here. You can also download results if you want things in CSV format. So you can get your results served to you however you would like. And with that, Paul, I'll welcome you back onto the stage. We'll do some questions here. Anybody that has any questions, let me know and we'll walk through it.
All right. So we have a question from Alicia Lambert. It's actually two questions. She wants to know if the scoring of catch-alls is new, and maybe you could just talk a little bit more about scoring catch-alls and why that's so important. And she also asks, so that integration for the check is viewable by the users inputting their information?
First with the catch-alls. So the scoring of catch-alls is not new. It may be newer for the actual integration. We recently updated the integration, so that it could be newer with the HubSpot integration, but it's something that we've done for a bit now. And it's the best tool out there when it comes to catch-alls. There's no perfect solution for catch-alls, which is why it exists. If there was a perfect solution, this wouldn't even be a thing. Catch-all wouldn't even be a category, but unfortunately, it's really the only gray area there is. And you're mainly going to see it with B2B emails. If you're dealing with B2C emails, it's really not going to be as much of a problem for you. But with B2B emails, it absolutely can help you to extract some of the extra value out of that. So again, valids and then the high scoring catch-alls are the ones you're going to be most interested in. And then to get to the integration, the check mark, yes, that will be viewable for your users. They can see what's going on with the actual validation, whether it's good or bad. And in upcoming updates, we're actually going to add a feature where you can customize messaging for the user. That's been talked about with our platform. Sorry, getting a call here. Let me just make sure that's not going off. Yeah, so that will be available later on. It's not currently available, but if you can do it, if you want to get your hands dirty, you can add some messaging there, so that if you get an invalid email, you say, hey, you're gonna have to give us, this is invalid, give us something that's valid, or you're not gonna get through. But that's currently unavailable. As of now, it's only just the check mark and the X.
So this question is from Daniel. He says, watching your demo, it appears that setting up the integration and then setting up a HubSpot form that uses ZeroBounce validation is done entirely from your ZeroBounce account?
Correct. So the account that you're setting up is all on ZeroBounce. You connect HubSpot from there, and then you'll log into your HubSpot account. You can find us on the HubSpot marketplace and things like that, but it's going to redirect you back to the site anyways. So everything's managed from ZeroBounce, correct?
Is there a way to control how many times visitors can submit data on your forms? In other words, what's stopping a bad actor from spamming my form with the integration and using up the credits?
So the goal of those bad actors, actually, this is a good question. The reason why this is so great is because it can take away and eliminate bad actors, things like bots and things like that. We've had a lot of use cases of big clients where they have bots coming in on their forms, but people want to get to the service. They want to get to what you're doing, and they want to get into your database. So that's the goal. That's their goal. And if they see that that's not happening, then they tend to go away. So yes, it will consume some credits, but they'll eventually go away if they know a validator is there. That's one of the main use cases for using the real-time validation on the forms, is to eliminate those bad actors because they just can't get through.
Follow-up question from Daniel. How would you insert ZeroBounce validation into an existing in-use HubSpot form?
So I'd imagine you could go and do the same thing, edit the form and just embed the code. You should be able to do the exact same thing just by going and editing the form, the same embed process. All of that's going to be the exact same. You don't have to create anything new. Just go in there and embed the code into your website, and you should be good to go. Remember to generate the API key, copy the code, do everything you got to do, but shouldn't be a problem. No different from a new form.
All right. Are there any other questions from anybody? Please don't be shy. Oh, and adding in here, Brian from ZeroBounce, he mentions you would just append the ZeroBounce code to your existing form. No new forms are needed to be made.
Yep. So super easy.
Any key takeaways that you'd like to mention before we part here?
Yeah. So couple different things. I know a lot of you are concerned about pricing. So be sure to contact me about pricing. As you can see here, everything's based on usage. Like I said before, the pricing is tiered. So the credits, as the volume goes up, the price per email goes down. Figuring out your volume is going to be the number one thing. We have bulk plans where you can make a one-time purchase, or we have monthly subscription plans. Whatever the case may be, the credits never expire, so you can fit things to your need. And then obviously contact me for any discounted pricing directly. My email is austin@zerobounce.net. Again, on the screen here, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, however you want to reach out. I'll be happy to respond and help you out. And I believe we have, if you went to inbound and you got a token, I know a couple people have been sending me pictures of the tokens. Those are still good for 5,000 credits and or 50% off the email deliverability toolkits. So be sure to email me or support to claim that. And then other than that, obviously any other questions that you have, be sure to let me know. Again, Austin, AUSTIN @zerobounce.net. Happy to help with anything you need. It was great to meet you guys at Inbound, and then hopefully we can continue our relationship going on into the future.
All right. Well, Austin, thank you so much for all this very valuable information. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We know that you have a lot of things to do, so it's always a pleasure when we can connect with all of you out there. Have a great day.
Have a good one. Take care.
All right.
Thanks, Paul.
Absolutely.